Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, Joey McGuire's message to the Red Raiders during the open week, and also a significant shuffle on the offensive line. Next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thanks to those making us their first listen on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. And right now, if you're a new customer, you can bet only $5 and you're getting $200 back in bonus bets. Guaranteed. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan, and we're getting started today with a football-heavy conversation, featuring the one and only Joey McGuire. Let's get to some sound to kick her off here, Chris, regarding what obviously is a looming open weekend and then a short week. So they're actually bumping up a game week schedule a little bit that'll bleed into this week and weekend. It's Texas Christian on the docket coming up on Thursday night from Jones Stadium. But as the Red Raiders begin to climb back to hopefully 500 and maybe some pursuit of a bowl-eligible qualifying win, Joey McGuire was asked about a message to the team. Here's Coach McGuire.
We don't have a game coming up against TCU that's going to make us bowl eligible. Like, it still counts for one, and so you got to do that. Like, we've got to worry about us getting better and knowing who our opponent is, but us getting better. We've not played very good football. We didn't play very good football. And then the biggest message is take care of the football. And on the other side, the frustrating thing about the last two games is we can say we've turned the ball over, I think 4 times against K-State, maybe 3, 5 times against BYU. We've had 0 takeaways. So we're not balancing it out either. We're not, giving the offense short fields. And so I think that's a big part of it too. The message is like playing off of each other, but, being 1-0. I think that's the biggest thing, because if we start thinking about that, we're so far away from that, we got to worry about what's right in front of us.
It's going to be very difficult, as painful as it is to say. It's going to be very difficult to get to a bowl game with what you have left, because you've just run out of, opportunities. I remember last year you were at 4-5, and we were maybe having similar conversations. And then you at that point you never lost. I don't know if you could pull that off this year or not, but you've got 4 opportunities left, and you have to at least win 3 of them, or it's not going to happen for you. And that's what TCU, then at Kansas, then Central Florida, who's got their quarterback back now, and then you go to Texas. Those are the 4 opportunities. 2 away, 2 at home. You had some goals before the season. Most of those are not, but I do think, you and I had these conversations, and I want to get to another point that he made too about, the lack of takeaways in a second. But, Cowan, you and I talked about, you could be 7-5, 8-4, which is going to be very difficult to pull off at this point, and not have like a better record than the previous year, and you still feel like you're progressing. And that's what you just want to see. You just want to see because really the rest of these 4 games, win or lose, it's about kind of what Behren can do and what the offense can do, and can they kind of start to get out, move the ball easier, better, and all those things, with a lot of pieces that potentially you won't have next year, like Taj maybe, and some offensive linemen, and you're just not sure how much that. But so it's really about Behren Morton, and I do think, and we'll talk about Behren in a little bit, but I do think that what Joey says is that, and it's been interesting because a lot of talk about play calling. You've seen it, I've seen it. Zach Kitley's gotten a lot of blame and grief, and it's like solely responsible for a lot of these things. But boy, it is amazing to me that nobody has any issue. Seemingly no issue, like no qualms at all about a freshman quarterback running in the end zone 5 times, and you just not making any kind of plays on defense. And I thought the expectations were equally as much on both sides of the ball with a lot of age and experience on offense. Certainly, we've talked about it, but a lot of age and experience on defense as well. And there's just not been a lot of those game-changing plays. For as much as the offense has struggled, I think that, the defense has just not really made a lot of those plays that make games easier or help anything at all. Can't get the ball on the turf. I think you've dropped some interceptions or just haven't. I don't know, and I get it. I get the frustration. Everybody, when you lose, it's like people want to blame and point, and that's part of it. But it's been weird that nobody seemingly has any issue about the defense compared to the offense. This is really like the offense has taken a lot of the quote unquote blame here. And I think it's because Joey's always been good. He talks about that. He's like, if I ever go into that offensive room and I get real frustrated about a turnover or being loose with the ball, trust me, I'm absolutely going to go in the defensive room and I'm going to point out when we don't get any kind of takeaways, because that's equally their jobs. Take care of it, cause them, and and really both have not been happening, but it's not just so one-sided, I guess. But I thought it was interesting that he pointed out. And again, I get everybody's frustrated and all that, but it's almost like you're being a contrarian by you pointing anything out about this defense, because I think Jalen and Tony and those corners and Rabbit and all, they would all tell you we have not been anywhere near good enough. So anyway, interesting point.
You can find a Monday thumbnail related to this show after the K-State game that said shredded. It was all about defensive qualms on this show. I will say, however, I interpret it in a different way, or at least I feel differently about that kind of comment. First, today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks, the most exciting way to test your skills and play daily fantasy sports, and a great way to add juice to any game, anytime. And if you've got the game, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and a giant selection of players, projections, and stat categories are just part of what makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. That's prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, right now, PrizePicks is going to match your first deposit up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDONCollege at prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Today's episode brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. And these days, every new hire can feel like a huge gamble. And when we're talking about your business or livelihood, that's not ideal. But never fear, LinkedIn Jobs is here to help by finding the best qualified candidates available fast and for free, all on one easy-to-use and secure platform. With simple but specific targeting tools allowing you to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to consider. They go beyond just resume data by using insights from your job post, your company, and their 870 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates faster than anyone else. So go to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege today to identify the most qualified candidates and connect with them fast and for free. Just like a bad hire could sink your ship, the right hire could take your business to new heights this year. And it's no coincidence that small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So post your job for free today at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. It's so easy. Even a Big 12 ref could do it. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free today with LinkedIn Jobs. Terms and conditions apply. I really only take it to be a head coach trying to defend, or maybe, I don't know, just spread some of it around and keep from piling on the offense, and almost no more. Because, Chris, I don't view a 5-turnover day for the offense and a 0 takeaway for the defense as equally poor for those groups. Like, a defense easily could be a part of a winning day and never take the ball away. An offense can pretty much never be a part of a winning day and give it up 5 times, I think. So I don't know. I kind of I guess when I heard that, I'm almost just sort of thinking to myself from a football perspective, that's the coach just trying to kind of say, hey, we're losing as a team. We got this going on too defensively. We're not taking it away either. But I don't know. I would have difficulty juggling those as equal as far as shortcomings, because good grief. I guess you can go into it saying, hey, D, your O's probably going to turn it over 5 times. So if you don't take it away 3, it's your fault or it's a failure. I get what everybody's saying. We need more big plays, but I don't know. I guess I interpret them a little differently. And that's not, anything against Joey McGuire taking up and just trying to say we're losing as a team. That's kind of how I interpret it.
And I think that's fair. And it was, I guess, technically it was 4 turnovers because Miles Price was on a special teams play. But yeah, point taken. True. And
just lopsided.
But yeah, absolutely. You can't, honestly, I just don't know if you can win either way. I don't know if you can win when you turn it over that much, and you just can't win against good teams if you just don't, wreak any havoc. But I just don't, because it's like for, as much as we want people to, or people talk about, man, you got to run it more. At some point, if you want to win and win big in this league, your QB is going to have to step up and be a dude. Make plays, win you a game on the road, make a key throw. I mean, and be a part of it. You can't just, run it. And that's not to say that that's what people are saying, but I also think that you can't, because I've seen Oklahoma State, the year that they went to the Big 12 championship game, they didn't really have this dynamic offense at all, but they led the league in takeaways. Yep. They almost got to the Big 12 championship game solely because they were opportunistic. They kept giving their offense. And so maybe that is, because 9 penalties against BYU too, which was frustrating. And we've talked about some of that as well. But no, I think, you make a valid point, and that's fair. But I also think that, again, and we pointed out the 5 rushing touchdowns and all that stuff. And so I guess the point really, frustratingly to admit, there's lots of problems here.
That's correct.
There's lots of issues here. Pick one, and a lot of people have picked theirs. But I think there's lots of problems. I guess that's the whole point, and it's not a good point to try to make, but it is.
We've all got our favorite precious rock to rest all our blames and worries and troubles on, and I'm still mad the horse had to sit out the last game. I guess that's where I'm laying the
day to day, man.
Just day to day, just like the rest of us. And it really kind of changed. I mean, you had some shortcomings from a defensive perspective, say against K-State or some of these other weekends where you'd say, man, you're going backwards too often. And that's one thing. Or say offensively, you're not really sustaining drives or, whatever it was at that time. But nothing has really been like the last couple of weeks when we've been drowning under the turnover avalanche, right? It's gotten wildly out of control with the freshman quarterback and all of these things. So I'm almost in the camp of I'm burning game tape from about the last 6 quarters or so. I don't know, 5.5 quarters or so.
Well, because look at the Oregon, Kansas State, BYU combined. These are 3 of your losses combined. You had 11 turnovers in those 3 games, and you had a combined 0 takeaways, which are both a problem. Yes. It's both a problem, right?
Well, here's something maybe to make you feel a little bit not better. No, I'm not going to use that word for this. All right, so we're anticipating something on the defensive side of things as far as a return to some plan or some form, I guess. We're optimistic about Jacob Rodriguez returning to the fold when Texas Christian comes up next week. But the football fates say, hey, Texas Tech, you can't have all nice things at once, so we're going to tinker with your offensive line. Take a listen to this from Red Raider head coach Joey McGuire. And by the way, this is on the heels of Cole Spencer still being sidelined. This is a different offensive line conversation as more change is on the way. Here's Coach McGuire.
Rusty's going to right guard and Dennis is going to center. It's not the reason that we're not doing that. We're doing it injury to his right elbow, and you saw it at the end. Now, we had bad snaps throughout the game, so it wasn't. You can't use that as an excuse from early in the game. Or we had snaps that were off target. I think there was 26% of the snaps that were off target. So meaning that that quarterback, I don't care who it is, anytime you've got to take your eyes away, down or anything like that, it's hard to play that position. So our plan is to move Dennis to center and Rusty to right guard.
One of the many things that I think is hurt the offense has been the occasional bad snap, because, and I think you saw a lot of it at BYU, at the ankles, and just because the timing of everything, whether you're trying to execute a handoff, which we saw that they had problems with a route being run, like bending over and then looking up and then, okay, now I got to see what did I miss in those 2 seconds with what the defense is doing at that safety. Did he go this way or that way? Whatever. I think that is not ideal and factors into all that has plagued you here at some level. I think Rusty had gotten better as a center as the season had gone along. I don't know if he's been what they had overall hoped. I think Rusty would tell you the same thing. I have no problem with Dennis Wilburn playing center for you. We thought that the best scenario, or they thought that getting Rusty here and playing Dennis at more of his natural position. But you and I talked all last year and really the summer. I thought Dennis Wilburn was maybe the most valuable / most important player on your entire offense, because your offensive line shuffled quite a bit. There was injuries and all those things. The quarterbacks last year shuffled quite a bit. He was the one mainstay and kept it afloat. And not that he's some savior at center, but I have zero issues with him playing center now. I don't think that is anything to worry about, be concerned about. In fact, I'm here for it. If and it's being dictated because of another injury to Rusty, where to his right, because I think Joey actually said after the game against BYU they considered taking him out in the middle of a series, but just left him in there because he kind of was playing through it. But now we see that maybe it's a bit worse than they thought. Again, can still play through it, but it's going to affect the hand that he snaps with, and so don't want to chance it. Because I may be wrong, Cowan, and I could be forgetting. I just don't know if you had the inconsistency with any snaps last year with Dennis at center. And again, maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I don't remember that. But this has not just been a BYU game problem. There's been some of these other issues, and as I think Joey even stated, this wasn't an issue with him at Western Kentucky, but it's been a kind of a problem at times, and he goes back to maybe just somebody trying to do a bit too much or worried about who's in front of them as opposed to just the snap and all those things. But it throws everything off. Yeah,
no question. And I don't recall, at least as often, seeing that happen. So I think this is kind of unique unto this season, at least as far as my memory serves. I was interested, however, to hear, okay, not only are we making the change and Wilburn is back here, but Staats is going where he was. And I'm wondering if Spencer had not already been afflicted, would we even see Staats still there at right guard at all? Would it have been like a Jackson swap there, or that the right guard spot becomes very intriguing here?
And I don't think Jacoby Jackson has just lit it up since he's come in. I will say that. I don't think he's been just like any kind of like upgrade or like some like, whoo, oh yeah, we I don't know if that is what has happened yet. Unfortunately, so I will say that. He's still young, but that's going to be a position we need to spend a lot of time on, unfortunately, like in December and like going forward with whatever happens, because I think the Caden Carrs, the Daniel Sills, the Nick Fattigs, those guys are pups, but they are closer to being ready than some of the guys just above them.
Man.
I think that's just the reality of it on what the thinking is there. And I think, we mentioned that the other day about, I think there's some thought that you may try to get 2 out of the portal just to kind of get some level of age and experience, with you losing likely Cole and Dennis and Rusty. So we'll see. But again, you would have, and Ty Buchanan has also been out for the last couple of weeks, and he will be out for a couple of more weeks. And so those were kind of 6 and 7, which is now a starter / I think, like Caleb Rodkey, a walk-on, is likely to be somebody that would get inserted into the game as like a sixth guy, or even a Matt Keeler who started a game last year and all that stuff. So yeah, this position is just not near as short up as you would like to hope. And it's been really part of the problem over the last 5 to 8 years, just depth, starters, just like having it turn into a machine where it feeds itself, and you've got them stacked up and all that. It just hasn't been what you've gotten into here, but
not at all.
Yeah. So
before we get out of here, let's get to this, which I thought was the most jarring thing I heard from Joey McGuire today. First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and the official sportsbook of Locked On. And fall is in the air. Helmets are on heads. Briskets are on smokers. And the action is with America's #1 sportsbook. And there's never been a better time to join in on that action than right now, because new FanDuel customers can bet only $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. So dive in and join in on the fun with FanDuel by downloading their safe, secure, and easy-to-use app, where you can bet on all things under the sports sun. And when you're a winner, you're always paid instantly with FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed with FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. The most jarring thing I heard from Joey McGuire today, and this may have been something that was generally kind of a timeline that was, I don't know, generally known, or you're kind of hazy on, well, I know the time is piling up that he hasn't been very active in practice after a couple of weeks. But Chris, Coach McGuire said that this is as active of a week as Behren Morton has had since the week leading up to West Virginia. It's October 25th. That game was played on September 23rd. That's about a month, folks, that this dude has been getting ready for weekends with not much weekly activity. And I knew he was limited, but I guess I've just been seeing the time slip by, Chris. That just kind of blew me away to hear that it has actually been that long.
Yeah, so, Joey indicated that Behren had a grade 3 AC joint sprain. I think to give you an idea, like Pat played through this. It's very, very painful. And when it's on your throwing shoulder, you don't really, it's like you don't know how much, to put on a throw, take off of a throw. If it gets landed on, it's just extremely painful. You can play through it. Like I'll just explain it to you this way too. I believe it's been reported that Quinn Ewers at Texas has a grade 2 sprain, AC joint sprain, and they've shut him down for a period of weeks, it sounds like. I mean, Malik Murphy is going to get the start for Texas this weekend with Arch Manning backing him up. But Texas Tech and Behren, he played through it a bit. And, I don't know all the medical details and all those things. I just pointing that out. But I just think it's interesting because Joey indicated, these are the first throws he's made in the middle of a week in a month. And I think it would be, okay, so – and it's fair to criticize play calling. It's fair to criticize scheme. It's fair to criticize handoff execution. It's also fair to now understand it would be fairly difficult to put something together going week to week, not ever seeing your quarterback throw, not knowing how far he can throw it, i.e. the Baylor game on the deep ball. Which was underthrown. And I think it would be a bit tricky because unless I'm misunderstanding, the first throws he's made in each of these games that he played were in warm-ups.
Yeah.
And that's the first throws he's made since the previous game. So that's just a lot to consume and it sucks. All of it. But this is the hand that you were dealt, and this is the hand that everybody's tried to play with, and you've continued to have a bad hand, and you've kind of folded a little bit, with the hand you were dealt. But I think it was a lot more tenuous than I think anybody knew week to week, and even him, because again, one, okay, throwing it is one thing, but I don't know what do you have? Like, can you get it 20 yards? Can you get it 30 yards? Can we even take a shot down the field? Does it everything need to be quick game? You have no idea. So this is why I think that they had talked about Jake Strong had gotten a lot of these reps, and Behren hadn't really thrown it all, So
yeah, and every week there's like, I imagine, some process between an OC, a quarterback, wide receivers, whatever it might be. Like, which ones do you like, and which throws do you like to make? Do you feel comfortable making? Where do you like to fit it in? Yada yada. I mean, it goes on and on. It's an eternal conversation week to week to week, I guess. But you probably don't get a whole lot of feedback from a dude in a hoodie who's got his hands there in the front pocket.
No timing, no chemistry.
Yeah.
No nothing. Yeah, I mean, you could be out there and mentally go through it, but it just kind of just file it away with all the rest of the
exactly. The file's getting fat.
Maddening, sad, frustrating. Like, it's so tiresome with your QB health issues. But this is just and you were good enough, obviously, to beat Baylor, good enough to beat Houston. With what ailed you here, but obviously I think it showed up against Kansas State when it got hit and he couldn't go forward with it, and it was just like, at this point it's like, man, So anyway.
you're a car with three wheels. The other one's rolling down the road. Once upon a time, I had to change a flat, put a tire on a trailer, driving down the highway. All of a sudden, that same tire is passing me in the vehicle. This is not a joke. You ever been passed by a tire you just put on? That's the way it felt like.
Only on a video.
That's the way it felt like. I mean,
those videos
seriously,
of those tires like flying down there and smashing into a cafe on the side of the street. Or
and
whatever.
my sweet patient grandfather watching from the passenger seat, just thinking, well, we're gonna have to find it, and we did in the pasture. Anyway, I mean, I've got Red Raider buddies who are like just lighting up the torches this week after BYU. Like, boy, this is where I draw the line. I'm thinking, what are you, nuts? Freshman QB? What? So I'm kind of hoping this is one wheel off the last couple of weeks and maybe get a wheel put back on with your quarterback, because I do feel like, Chris, in some of these ball games, you're still going to have a chance to win in the fourth quarter. And I know how deflating it was against BYU, but from a points perspective, you were not out of that game. And if you had a guy from a signal calling perspective that can make some plays, maybe you wouldn't have been. So I hope we get back to it. I know that I'm kind of hoping against hope, because here's the other deal. And we're out of time to get into it much further, and you'll probably thank us for this because it could be a painful conversation. Don't pardon the pun. The dude's not going to be at 100% next Thursday. He's not going to be at 100% the following Saturday. This is something he's going to have to continue to deal with. But I hope at least, here's a greedy thought, can we get him in some practice, feeling good enough to get in practice week to week? I mean, that'd be a trend in the right direction. So just hoping for good things, man. But a little background on what he's been working with.
I go back to the very beginning of this. To me, this is all about Behren and development, and because he's still fairly inexperienced here, but this is now his team, his program, and you would envision that for the next rest of the season and the 2 years following. And so that's what this remaining of this season, however long it lasts, needs to be about is number two, and getting him more experience and getting him comfortable, and let's get this thing rolling.
We are back on the other side to preview the open weekend, a weekend in which we cannot lose. So hope you'll join us for the final go-round coming up tomorrow on Locked On Texas Tech. Actually, we're going to preview a ball game. Red Raiders, Aggies on the hardwood. What year is it? I don't know, but load up your sock full of quarters and head out to Denton. We're going to dance with A&M over the weekend. We'll hear from Grant McCaslin tomorrow. We've also got a message from Mama for a Red Raider football conversation of the day coming up on the other side, and we'll preview the Big 12 slate, the one that the Red Raiders will sit out for the time being before getting back to it next Thursday against the Horned Frogs. Looking forward to one more round with you, Chris. Thanks for the time as always, man.
Absolutely. Appreciated it. Keep hope alive. If anybody can find any, but that's what we're about here, man. Find some, right. Keep it alive, rub it, be nice to
nurture
it, all that good stuff. Yeah, nurture it, water it, whatever you need to do.
Sunlight, air.
But we'll be back tomorrow with more.
That's right. Little fertilizer, little bull every once in a while will do you good, and that's what I'm here for. So join us tomorrow. Subscribe so you never miss an episode on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts, right back here on Locked On Texas Tech.